So we are a multi-sector initiative that builds government, business, nonprofit, and consumer collaboration to advance digital inclusion for seniors and adults with disabilities in San Francisco. And the Tech Council was launched in 2015, and its mission is driven by the core belief that the most effective way to address the complexities of connecting all San Franciscans, as well as to harness some opportunities for innovation and partnership, is through collaboration across all sectors. And I like to kind of think that the Tech Council is really the community table around which our member organizations sit for that very purpose.
Well, listen, thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Lawrence, and I'm one of the co-founders of GetSetUp, and excited to tell you a little bit more about what it is we're doing. So GetSetUp is a interactive learning platform for older adults. And we've actually taken sort of a different approach from others in that we are older adults teaching other older adults. So we reskill and upskill folks. We started with mostly retired teachers and then expanded to folks with all sorts of really interesting backgrounds who had wisdom and a desire to sort of teach. And we realized that when you actually taught older adults using peers, there was a relaxing, there was a cadence, there was a patience, there was an empathy that just worked. Because part of the challenge that I think we work to solve is to help those that have fear of learning something new because nobody's taken the time or had the patience to help them learn by doing. And so it's very important that our classes maintain interactivity. So it's older adults teaching other older adults in live interactive classes where they're learning by doing and not by watching. So if they're learning how to use Zoom, then they're actually going through the controls, they're configuring things. If they're learning to use the Uber app, then they're learning how to download the app and learning how to use the functionality and book their first ride. So we really do emphasize the interactivity of everything we teach. As the name would suggest, GetSetUp, when we started the business about a year ago, we started with enabling tech because this is really a lot about a first mile problem. How do you get somebody into their first Zoom class, right? And that presupposes that they have connectivity, they have the right kind of device, they have the intent to do it. And any one or all of those can oftentimes be challenges. So we do think about ourselves as expert onboarders of other older adults. And we had to do that out of necessity. So oftentimes people will arrive at our website, they'll call the 800 number to ask if they have the right technology to actually get into a Zoom class. And we'll have one of our older adult onboarders, could even be me. I'll take them from a phone call, oftentimes to FaceTime if I have to getting their Zoom set up. And all in that same hour. And then oftentimes, I'll give them a tour of the website, help them understand what kind of classes are available, understand what it is they would like to learn, help them sign up for the classes, and maybe even help them schedule a few classes so they get the notifications and the reminders. And so it's really the small group and interactive piece that makes the magic happen, right? So inside of a class, they can turn on their camera when they're comfortable. They can ask questions when they're ready. They can engage with other users. We find that after attending a few classes, they make friends and connect with other users and then come back and take classes together. And we think that's a really important metric for us because when you have folks who were hesitant about learning tech coming into a class for the first time, eventually feeling comfortable enough to ask questions, connect with others, make friends, and then come back to classes together, you've really solved a variety of problems. You've helped a learning use case, you've helped socialization, you've maybe helped sort of resolve some fear, anxiety. Sometimes it's depression, but you've really, really made a lot of headway. And our instructors, they are wonderful people. We call them guides, but they are sort of reskilled and upskilled older adults who are absolutely wonderful teachers. So when we think about the type of curriculum, we really defer to what the community wants and what the community needs, which means we ask them. We know that some of the most popular classes are sort of the basic enabling technology, like how to get them comfortable on their laptop, their desktop, their iPad, tablet, smartphone, because if you can get them comfortable using that device, and oftentimes it means that we're working with them to upgrade their operating system or their browser type or do some sort of configurations, but we're very patient. We take all the time that's needed to sort of help get them sort of into that first class, because once we do, we open up a whole new universe of other things that they can learn, right? Zoom becomes a gateway to learning everything else. And so amongst the most popular classes are a lot of health and wellness classes, how to eat in a more healthy way, prepare meals that are healthier desserts. They take dance classes. There's all sorts of both sort of academic, personal enrichment, professional development, entertaining classes, social hours. And the social hours are special because they really help people when they may not have, sorry? When they don't have the time to sort of sit in a full class, they can spend a few minutes and they can spend some time in a social hour and do a little bit of visiting. So the overall benefits, right? We're obviously solving a educational use case, helping somebody learn something that they want or need to learn, and that's wonderful. But there's also benefits around. There's health and wellness benefits, right? They stay healthy, they stay mentally engaged. There's perception benefits. And because the way we work is we provide a new job opportunity for the guides, right? So they feel empowered, they feel needed, they feel less invisible. We pay them $25 an hour to teach others, and the others get to learn and socialize and feel part of a community. And so I described the class catalog. Suffice to say that it gets bigger all the time. We ask our community what it is they'd like to learn. There's a lot of diversity across communication tools, health and wellness curriculum, things they might want to learn if they want to continue to work or get back into the workforce. And of course, all of the fun sort of social classes. In terms of engagement, I think this has sort of amazed us. When you start something like this, a little over a year ago, we knew it was a problem. We knew it was an opportunity. Of course, nobody really anticipates a pandemic when they start a business, but it had certainly accelerated things. And so we see a very high level of engagement, people spending sort of on the low end, a couple of hours a week, but sometimes it's, 5 to 10 hours a week, which tells us that there's some real need for socialization that we're helping satisfy. They're making friends in these classes, which is wonderful. And the traffic numbers and the monthly engaged users is really quite large. In the last 90 days, we expanded outside the US because we saw folks from all over the world coming into our classes. And so we thought, well, this is a problem everywhere. And so we've now started offering classes in India, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK, and a couple of other markets. And those have really helped sort of increase the popularity of the classes and the platform. Part of the way we work with partners is when the pandemic hit, we realized that businesses that had otherwise helped support older adults in a physical way suddenly needed virtual curriculum. And the YMCA is a great example. And we partnered with them and with other organizations and said, we'll create an e-learning channel for you. It can be co-branded or branded with the YMCA. Curate a list of our classes and you use that, promote those to your users, and let's help sort of Y members enjoy these classes and stay connected while they're stuck at home. And so, this sort of syndication method of our classes worked really, really well to sort of create virality and get a lot of users onto the platform. We now work with probably over 25 states, their health and human services, a lot of AAAs, area agencies for aging around the country. The state of Michigan is a very large partner. We just launched or announced a partnership with New York. But working with the area agencies and at the local level has been really important for us. So that's where a lot of the good work is being done. And I think that's where many of you sort of do your good work. So happy to be able to talk and share our message with you today. So I talked a little bit about sort of where we're offering classes, who we're partnering with. There's a little bit about sort of our supporters and the folks who sort of invested in our business to help get it off the ground. Folks that really, really cared about this category, impact investors, folks who understand sort of the healthcare and longevity space sort of made all of this possible. I'm going to wrap it up there, but I would love to take any questions that folks might have.
Great. I will be looking at the box, and similar to questions that we've had in the past, how do you sign up for this, and how much does it cost if I wanted to recommend this to someone?
So you can certainly go to, I'd welcome everybody, your friends, your family, your older loved ones, send them to getsetup.org. .org. There's plenty of free classes there that they can try. So there really is no cost for many of the initial classes. And then we have sort of premium levels where we bring in guest speakers and different level of class access for folks. And those will be, $9.99 a month, $14.99, or $19.99 for unlimited access. But to be completely honest, most of our classes have been free to the end user, and they've been paid for by states, by area agencies, and by organizations who are trying to subsidize these classes for their end users.
All right. We've got a couple of questions here. Maybe you want to stop share on yours, and then we can have you answer questions. One of the questions is, do you have classes in languages other than English? That's a concern in San Francisco.
Yeah, wonderful question. We have just started offering classes in Spanish, Mandarin, and Hindi, and we will be offering probably Vietnamese, Korean, and Arabic in the next 6 months.
Wow. Another question came in, do some of the classes offer translation? I guess that is one of the things, or closed captioning?
Yes, we've just started to offer closed captioning on some of the classes, not all, but obviously it's a very, very important thing for us to roll out across all classes.
And what you've done so far, has it been working? Has it helped?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think Matt in his presentation highlighted why there is such an importance to help people who have disabilities that might be attending these classes, particularly hearing.
Great. And from Edith at Felton Institute, can you describe how your partnership works, for example, at senior centers, in terms of how does this go about? What is the arrangement?
Sure. So for example, a senior center might say, we would like to offer health and wellness classes and maybe basic technology classes to our members. And so we have a catalog that's 300 plus classes. It might be a little bit overwhelming. So say you choose health and wellness and you choose basic tech, and we would then curate those classes and we would put it on a landing page, much like I showed you with the YMCA. And you'd have the senior center branding there, a little bit of a welcome message, and then the classes that you chose for your members below. You'd then promote those to your members. You need to let your members know that these are then available. And then we look after everything else. So from the registering, the onboarding, the class confirmations, the class notifications, and then of course the teaching of the class, we completely handle for you.
Great. Andrew and I had the opportunity to speak with you earlier in the spring. And one of the things that you mentioned was your unique cohort-based approach, and that you're actually are able to match people together. And this is really something that works with social isolation and loneliness in ways that other companies haven't been able to do yet.
Yes, and thank you for asking that. We think about engagement in a deep way, and part of where we start is, what is the friction that we can remove to make it as easy as possible for somebody to get into their first class? Once they get into their first class, right, then the milestones become, how do you get them to turn on their camera, ask their first question when they're comfortable, and then the natural progression from that is they take more classes and they connect with others. And part of the way that we can facilitate connection with others is by having our video platform expose what we call familiarity. So let people know when they've taken 5 or 10 classes together, like help them know that, 10 people from the YMCA Houston are in this class. And if they would like to connect with each other and take subsequent classes together, let them know that there's similarity in interest, in geography, or in membership to organizations. And then they can choose to become friends or not, but oftentimes they do, because this demographic is really looking for connection. And part of what we need to do with our platform is sort of surface ways that allow them to know who they're in a class with, if they're from a same organization, if they've taken classes together, and then they become friends and they continue to do it, and it just grows. And then they bring their book club, they bring their church group, and the community just grows like that. But yes, the key has been, how do we build a platform that surfaces familiarity?
But I'd like to jump to Susan's question of, if older people are interested in teaching a class, what's the process to become an instructor, since you use that peer model?
Yeah, love that question. That is really an end goal of ours. We find that we reskill and upskill adults who want to teach, and they are fabulous teachers. Many of our guides, our teachers, come from learners who've taken 5 or 10 or 20 classes, and then they raise their hand and they say, well, I'd like to be a guide. I'm a retired lawyer, doctor, nurse, yoga instructor, and I'd like to go through your internal academy, and I'd like to teach. And we love that. There's nothing better than older adults from San Francisco teaching other adults from San Francisco, or Michiganders to Michiganders, or New Yorkers to New Yorkers. And so we absolutely welcome that. They don't have to be learners first. They can apply and go through our academy, but a lot of them take classes, they love it, and they say, hey, I'd like to teach something. I have something to give back. So those are the two sources of the way folks become guides on the platform.
Great. And just one last thing before we move on, I'm interested in, do you have people join who have never done Zoom before, like really, really from ground, zero? And how does that work?
Yes. We do. And we, in most cases, are successful at getting them into class. It does take some real effort, but it is totally worth it. It is totally worth it. Now, the things that I mentioned earlier, the big buckets are, do they have connectivity? Do they have a device that is capable of getting them into a class, or something we can help them upgrade to get them into a class? Then, of course, intent. But if they've shown up at the website, they have connectivity, they have intent, they might have a device that can be tweaked, upgraded, configured to get them into a class. It sometimes takes an hour of our time to do it, and we're totally okay with that, because that is just a job opportunity for somebody else. Like we're not trying to see how fast we can get off the phone. We're actually trying to see how often we can take somebody who has never been in a Zoom class and actually get them in for the first time. So we literally do a lot of onboarding with the cities and with the states. When they roll out programs to give away Chromebooks or tablets, we do the initial onboarding and we teach people how to plug them in, turn them on, and get into their first Zoom class, since it's what we do.